So when it comes to award accessibility, meaning are they contracts easy to find and qualify for? In terms of procurement complexity, are the procurement simple and small business friendly? In terms of engagement for small businesses, are they hosting events? Are they giving ways to reach out to them, talk to them, respond to emails? And then we're going to look at their historical small business record. Have they typically met their small business goals? And then at the end, what we do is we rank them from moderate to low to excellent and very strong. So you see 1 check mark is low moderate, up to a 3 check mark would be excellent, very strong in terms of entry of ease. So the first agency we're going to talk about is the VA hospital, right, or the VA administration. So in terms of accessibility, award accessibility, it's very high. Like we said, they are very small business friendly. In terms of complexity, we give that a medium ranking in terms of complexity. Remember, we're talking procurement complexity. So sometimes the procurements can be complex, but they do have a lot of smaller procurements that, again, a company that was just getting started in the federal marketplace can start working through the VA hospital. Engagement, they're super highly engaged. So it's easy to talk to someone at the VA. In fact, I know we've sent my brother down to the Miami VA hospital, and you can walk right in, they'll give you their card, and they'll say, yeah, give us a call, reach out to us. We look forward to it. Spend record, excellent in terms of small business spend. So that means they're hitting their goals all the time. So there are a 3 check marks. So in terms of ease of entry, we rank them very high. Agency, DOD. A lot of people don't work with DOD. If you're doing your market research, they come up on a lot of people's lists. In terms of accessibility, we rank them a medium of award accessibility. Yes, they definitely are making themselves in terms of small business goals, but a lot of times you'll see more established small businesses working with them. Not someone that I recommend to start off with because it is complexity. It is the highest and most complex agency to work with, whether any of the DoD groups, right? So I rank them high in terms of complexity. Engagement, yes, because there's so many different facets. Like for example, the Navy, they do a good job with engagement, and then some of the other parts of the DoD do less great jobs. They kind of balance themselves out. In terms of spend record, like I said, very strong because they are small business friendly. However, they're spending with established small businesses. So again, for newer small businesses trying to break in, DoD is not one that I recommend. So they get a 2 check mark, or I would say they're good overall because they meet their goals. But in terms of complexity, engagement, it makes it a little bit challenging for new entries. GSA, a lot of people have been hearing about GSA lately. Award accessibility, I would give them a medium. And in terms of complexity, again, we give them a medium because it really is a pretty straightforward process to work with GSA. They got a lot of different schedules, a lot of different vehicles. In terms of engagement, they're really high engagement. If you go visit the GSA website, you'll see lots of industry days, lots of industry sessions, lots of teaching and training on there. In terms of the spend record, it's strong because even though they may have a lot of these different GWACs, many times you'll see that the majority of the firms on there are larger businesses, and then they carve out a piece for small businesses. So in terms of ease of entry, we still rank them a very strong candidate because accessibility is good, complexity is medium, and their spend record has been strong overall. HUD, now I know things have changed in this current administration with groups like HUD, but historically, when we look at the data, because that's all we have to go off of is past data, accessibility awards, high. So to find and easy to qualify for, remember that's this category. So again, finding and easy to qualify for awards is high. Complexity is low. So that's good in terms of the complexity is low. Engagement, medium, right? You don't see as much events, but the good and the bad of that for me is when you do find an event, then you need to participate. That's what that tells me, right? Because there's not a lot of things going to happening. So if you see something with them, participate because they're going to be far few and in between. Their spend record's been moderate, small business. So again, we give them two check marks, and I rank them moderate. But again, when compared to all of the different agencies out there, these agencies, because of these different categories, still rank high. USDA, I really like USDA. A lot of my small businesses got their start there. Accessibility, easy to qualify for, really high. Complexity, low. So again, you want high accessibility, low complexity. You want high engagement. This is great. This is all the things collide together. Now, unfortunately, their spend record's been moderate, not bad. So again, we rank them very, very strong because high accessibility, low complexity, and high engagement. HHS, I can tell you, accessibility has been medium. Now, HHS is huge. And if you have not already seen the video that we did on HHS with Shannon Jackson, you might want to go back and watch that video. We'll put it up here. But HHS has many different facets of it. So I just want you to know, just like DOD is a huge group, HHS is also a huge group as well. We also have Wayne Berry that worked for one of the groups within HHS, but we have to rate them as they stand on their own in terms of agency size. So I just want you to know that. Complexity is a medium. Some groups within HHS are easier to work with than others, but I can tell you this, engagement super high, easy to set up, easy to talk with. They've got monthly ongoing rolling sessions. They're always doing vendor outreach, which is great because at least you can start to learn how to work with them and start to understand the inner workings of that group. Like I said, I've had 3 different small business professionals on my podcast from HHS. So that's a testament to how good they are in terms of outreach and engagement. Spending record has been very strong, for small business. So again, they get a 3 check marks. DHS, Department of Homeland Security, in terms of easy to find and qualify, accessibility, medium. In terms of complexity, very high. But again, we have students that are working with Homeland Security right now. So again, if you can get past some of that complexity, it's kind of like having a moat around your business, right? So think about the more complex they are. So the higher the wall is to climb, the less people are going to come behind you and climb it. So essentially, if you can get past that complexity, you could be eating and basically essentially have a gravy train for a long, long time to go until someone else decides they want to come behind you. In terms of engagement, medium engagement, so they are doing events and they're doing outreach, unlike some agencies. In terms of spend record, it's been moderate, but because they're spending so much money, right, that still is a strong character for us because we don't need a lot of money, right, in terms of big billions of dollars for us to all be successful. So even if their spending record is moderate, right, that still represents billions and billions of dollars. And so in terms of check marks, we give them a 2 check marks. So overall rating is moderate. And then the last agency, Department of Transportation, DOT, accessibility, very high. Find easy to qualify opportunities is high. Complexity, medium. So again, not too difficult to learn and understand them. Engagement, super high. Lots of events all the time. I'm sure you've probably seen this. You didn't recognize it. And the reason why this is a good chart to display for everyone is because I think sometimes when we see there's certain type of outreach events, we're like, oh, well, they'll just have another one. I can miss that one. But now, hopefully, knowing this chart, right, you'll be like, okay, well, this particular group doesn't have as much outreach events. So if you see one, you want to participate. Whereas another group, like say the VA, you see they're having things all the time. So you could typically skip that one. So if you had to choose based on budget or just time, right, you say, okay, I can go to the particular group that doesn't have as many events, and then I could forego the one that does have events because they're going to have more later on. Spend record has been moderate, and so we give them a 3 check stars because accessibility is high, engagement is super high, and complexity is medium. So these are the 9 agencies that we've ranked. We do have some ones that are runner-ups, like Department of Interior. I always recommend the Department of Interior as another group that people should start with. We've got people in our communities that have broken in Department of Interior and done really well. When I started helping an 8A company up in Rhode Island, they were the first ones to give us a contract. So I know that these are the groups that have been helping us. Department of Energy, again, they came to our conference and spoke. They participated at some of our events. So again, even though the highly complex, but strong spending, and a lot of proactive outreach. NASA, again, NASA's tech heavy, but because of the SBIR, STTR programs, and the OSTABU offices, I'm sure if you go to NASA, I still get emails from their small business offices now. We've also had NASA come on our show. And then last, Department of Commerce, again, lots of forecasting, so you can go on there and see forecast opportunities and small business conferences. Again, when I look at the people who I've worked with, who participated, I know people at Homeland Security. Natalie's been on my show when she was at DOT. Shannon and Wayne have been on my shows from HHS. I've talked to the USDA people, I've talked to the Department of Energy. This matches what I've experienced in my real world life and also what my students have experienced. So here we're going to look at what's on the screen, And I want to look at, for example, if we're discussing some of these different agencies, what do you say to the agencies? Okay, I have my certification. I know which agency I should be talking to, but what do I say to them? So here, let's give you some examples of what you can potentially say. So your agency is the VA hospital, right? We are a reliable veteran-owned janitorial company. That resonates with people because we know that everyone out here knows how to do the work. Doing the work is no longer just sufficient because we expect that you're going to do the work. But what we're falling short on in terms of people is being consistent, showing up, being present, being responsive. Okay. For me, we start working up at a project up in the Northeast. And when I first pitched that particular organization about why they should choose us to work with them, I already knew that they had a small area to work with. They didn't have a lot of space on that particular installation. And so we said, hey, we know that this is a very complex base to work at. We know that you have nuclear reactors on site. We know that there's a lot of contractors working in very small spaces. We have an office just outside the base that we can lay down our materials, and then only when we need them, we'll bring them on site to actually install or put them in place. Whereas a lot of vendors are accustomed to just having all the materials delivered to the base because there's plenty of storage area, and then they work with them as they need them. We knew that this particular organization or this installation did not have that kind of space. So when I pitched them, I said, look, we're very aware of this issue. We're aware of the security protocols that and working around the nuclear reactors. So our staff is trained in that. And also because we know that you don't have a lot of laydown area, we have a facility just 20 minutes outside the base. We can store materials and then bring them on as we need it. That is what they wanted to hear in order to choose us. Today, we have now won 3 sole source IDIQs at that particular location, and we're negotiating even more contracts with them. For the DoD, here's an example, subcontracting ready construction. Again, breaking into Corps of Engineers can be very, very difficult. So when you talk to them about subcontracting, we've spoken to the Corps of Engineers where they just didn't have enough of the industrial base to support some of the major primes. And this was a complaint that the major primes had. So when we talked to them about being subcontractor ready, meaning that we know all the protocols, we may not have the bonding, we may not have some of the other factors that we need to be a prime, but we understand your protocols, we understand that we've got a low safety ratings, we've got manpower that can get access to the base, and they've worked on bases before. Those are things that someone from the government can tell a prime contractor who's been complaining about not finding reliable subs. They can pass that word along to the prime contractors on your behalf. So for GSA, we could say we've got a back office that has worked with underproven systems. Why? Because GSA also is a third party to a lot of other agencies. And so knowing the systems and how to maneuver them is super important, because with a lot of small business, they have to teach them these things. So anything that an agency does not have to teach you is a differentiator. That's a unique factor. I think a lot of times we don't see that or know that because we tend to take things for granted, especially smart people, right? A lot of smart people take their basic knowledge, or what they call basic knowledge, they take it for granted and they don't see it as a unique factor or some sort of differentiator. But the reality is, it is a differentiator. Knowing someone's systems, knowing the inner workings, like I said before, knowing how the staff works and how the organization works, and knowing the different complexities of people who are maybe the secretary really is the person who makes the decisions, the program manager takes the secretary's advice. Knowing the inner workings of a group, that is just as important as your technical skills. HUD, affordable local staffing. So local staffing might be an important issue to someone like HUD. I can tell you that we've had numerous people that I've spoken to at different agencies that local staffing was an important thing to mention. And so when we brought that up, they loved that we could bring in additional staffing, or maybe in this case, they already had exhausted the local staff, so you had to bring in outside workers because they had already depleted their current industrial base because they're in a small town. So whether it's they want more local staff, they've already fully exhausted the local staff, and so now you got to bring in from outside staff to support those projects. knowing that is something that makes you different when you are speaking to the customer. So again, these are just some examples that I gave you of things that you can say when you're talking to the government. So now let's talk about how to get to them in the first place so that you can even say any of these things. So number 7, where to go and pitch. So when we're looking at these different agencies, what I would say is you want to see if at least they have a forecast list. So for example, if we type in VA, you want to say VA forecast list, right? DOD, because DOD is very big, I would not say DOD forecast. I would get into the different groups within DOD on my research, but you could type in GSA forecast, HUD forecast, USDA forecast. I mean, you could technically type in DOD forecast. There's nothing prohibiting you from that, but you want to get more granular down to the specific group within DOD, like Corps of Engineers, NAVFAC, NAVAIR, NAVC, NEWIC. So, but again, for the purpose of explaining this, right, we want to type in the name and then the forecast list. And so that way, when we go to the meeting, we have an idea of projects that they have upcoming that may be aligned with some of our goals, some of our past experiences, some of our work experiences, where we can help and support, whether it's a prime or subcontract opportunity. The other thing is that I like to do when I meet with these small business professionals is, in particular, I also like to have my capability statement ready, have my forecast list ready, and then also know on there what products I'm interested in. And then when we meet with them, talk about, are there any opportunities for me to be a sub? Are there any outstanding contracts with prime contractors looking for vendors? And then have them not only just give you that list, but see if you can use their name as a reference. So that's something that I like to do as well, because it helps when Sally Mae from USDA said, hey, she said to reach out to you about this particular contract, right? Or she said that it was okay she suggested that I call you or that I email you about this particular contract. You may be looking for some vendors with my skill set. So those are the things that I like to do, in addition to reaching out to them, is having them also using their name to talk to prime contractors, because that gives you more credibility and authority from the government person, and you're going to have a higher probability that someone's actually going to pick up the phone call or return an email. So in closing, your SBA are not golden tickets, they are keys. But if you don't use them, then nothing happens. Want to know what to take to a meeting? Go watch this video where we talk about the 5 slides that you take to one of these meetings that we just go to. But before you do that, subscribe to get more walkthroughs, pitch examples, and real-world strategies to winning actual contracts, not just theory. So in step 3, we mentioned targeting government officials using USA Spending and FPDS. And that's something I've been teaching people how to do for years. And it's worked really well for myself and many of my students. However, for some of us who may be more tech savvy, there are some tools out there that you can use that can make this process a lot easier. I'm going to show you one on the screen right now. And so one of the tools that I use is a tool called Gov IQ. And so Gov IQ, they've got an AI workbench that is designed for contractors like yourself. And then they have a CRM. And so let me just show you kind of inside real quick. So I'm here in Gov IQ. I went inside the CRM, and you'll see here, this is the CRM dashboard, what it looks like. But let's go under research and just kind of give you an idea. So here on research, if you choose like your next code, let me choose an IT code. Let's choose 54 professional and technical services. And I'm going to choose fiscal year 24, 23. And I'm going to choose California, right? And then let's click search. So then what will happen is it will actually do the research for you and give you the list of agencies, offices, and all of the people who actually are that you're looking for in your market research report. So it's a lot easier, it's a lot faster. So here, as you can see on the screen, 2,400 contracts, 1.7 billion in value. So you can see who we're spending in the Department of Defense, Health and Human Services, NASA, DOT, and then you can see the top vendors by obligation. You can see the top contractors and then the top awarding agencies. So now, you know, these are the agency offices that you want to reach out to. So again, that's just one example of using technology to help you with your search. The other thing is, and let me show you this. We'll go over to the AI workbench side. And on the AI workbench side is after you've done a lot of these things, then what you like to do, at least a lot of us, we like to actually write proposals. We might need help with our capability statements, things like that.
right? Because again, we're talking about you're now pitching to agencies. So here in Open Gov IQ, we have a capability statement code that you can type in simply. It says, okay, upload capability. If you don't have one, put I don't have one. So go through and put I don't have one. And then it'll take you through and ask you a series of questions on where you're at in your journey, do code, and then it starts building a framework to actually get you through the process of doing capability statement. So again, utilizing tools and resources may be advantageous for people. So if you have any questions about it, if you're in the website, just visit Open Gov IQ for more information. And we will make some upcoming content and videos explaining how to use these tools. These are paid tools, but if you value your time versus money, then I think it'd be worth it to look at maybe some of the additional paid options out there. Again, thank you so much. We appreciate you and hope this was able to be a little bit helpful.